In this video, I'm going to show you 3 different tips to help you stop translating in your head so that you can finally speak English with more confidence and not feel nervous anymore. Coming up. Hey friends, Teacher Prix here to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. Now guys, before I give you tip number 1, one very important thing that you need to understand is to stop translating in your head at the moment you are having a conversation with someone or when you are practicing. You need to change the process, okay? Because you will only be able to feel better about speaking and feel like you're not using translation anymore if you change the way you study vocabulary, the way you study reading, listening, writing, grammar, because all these skills are connected. The way you are currently studying these skills, not currently, but since the beginning of your journey, could explain why you translate so much. One thing you shouldn't forget is, oh, I'm translating now. Okay, I don't know what is happening to me. No. The translation problem is a result of repeated actions. So you were probably repeating the same kind of actions in your process that now make you translate in your head all the time. That being said, let's take a look at tip number 1. Use the Sherlock Holmes strategy. Wait, don't go. I will explain the Sherlock Holmes strategy. This is something that I always teach my students in my online program, private students, friends who study English. You should be like a detective. What do detectives do? To find a solution, they investigate. Maybe they have a case, they have something they need to discover. So to find the answer, they investigate. The investigation is a process. So the Sherlock Holmes strategy consists of following specific steps in your vocabulary practice so that you can study a word before using translation. Because I'm going to be completely honest with you, there will be moments when you are going to need translation. It happens. But if you follow the Sherlock Holmes strategy, the translation should be the last resort, the last option. And even then, in tip number 2, I'm going to give you a tip that is going to complement tip number 1 so that in case you translate, there is something else you can do. And as I said at the beginning of this lesson, the translation is a result of repeated actions, so your process needs to change. And the Sherlock Holmes strategy will help you change the process. There are 5 things you're going to do in your vocabulary practice. First, you're going to use Google a lot. I imagine you already use Google, but there is a sequence when you are trying to study vocabulary in English, okay? There are different options, different alternatives that you can follow before trying to translate. And remember, when you are studying, you are teaching your brain. So if you translate a lot, it's probably because you use a lot of translation when you study, okay? So the first thing, Google the word plus meaning. Here you can see an image on the screen where I give you an example, okay? So the first strategy, and I will explain each one of them. Google plus meaning. So the word plus meaning. The second thing you're going to use is Google Images. You can get a lot of ideas when you Google images. Does it work to all words in English? No, but it works with a lot of them, okay? The third thing you're going to do is Google the synonym, so word plus synonym, or the opposite, so word plus opposite, or opposite of, and the word you're trying to learn. And another thing, word plus example sentence, okay? This phrase is not really correct, but it's just so that you can tell Google what to do. Sometimes you find a word, you understand what it is, but you don't know how to use it. So when you have a word that you are familiar with, but you need more examples, this is the best way to use Google. Google will give you many results with explanations, examples actually, okay? And 5, you can use YouTube. YouTube is also a search engine, but it's going to give you videos instead of websites, blogs, and articles, okay? Now, if we put this into practice, Here is an example. Let's say you don't know the word struggle. So if you follow my recommendation in the Sherlock Holmes strategy, first you're going to go to Google, in the search bar, and you're going to type struggle plus meaning. And there, this is going to take time, okay? You really have to analyze the options. Google will give you an immediate explanation, but there are other results. If you scroll down the page, you can check some results. You don't need to check all of them. There are millions of results, okay? The next thing you can do is to use Google Images. You will see that things will begin to make sense. You will begin to understand. After that, you can Google the synonym, okay? So struggle plus synonym or opposite of struggle, okay? So this would be another way. The tip number 4, sentence example. So struggle, example sentence. Why did I type example sentence? This is the way most people type on Google search, okay? It is not the most correct way to say it, but if I type, I have an application extension in my Google that shows me the most popular search words. An example sentence is probably what most people search. So word struggle plus example sentences would be a good way for Google to give you results where you can see phrases with the word struggle. And finally, you can go on YouTube. I did this before preparing this lesson for you guys. So I went on YouTube on the search bar and I typed struggle plus meaning. And then you will be able to find some short videos, long videos, where there are people, mostly teachers, explaining the word struggle. Is this immediately going to help you stop translating in your head? No, absolutely not. This is a process. What I'm trying to do here with you is to help you change your process. By following this tip, you are going to be exploring a lot of things in English. You will be immersing in the language. Some students talk so much about immersing, how to immerse in English. Well, you can do that anywhere, anytime, when you study the right way. In my academy, for example, I'm always directing my BSA, my students, to follow a similar kind of process. They study vocabulary in English. They have explanations in English. The next tip is connected to tip number 1, because what will happen to many of you is, okay, I followed the Sherlock Holmes strategy. I didn't understand the word. What do? I need to translate, teacher. So what is next? Well, if you need to find the translation, okay, you followed the Sherlock Holmes strategy, you investigated, but you were not successful. It happens, okay? You did a good job though, you tried. So now you Google the translation. Okay, I did it. That's it? No. We're changing the process. You are teaching your brain to change the process. So we continue. Now you're going to use the tip number 2, which is to paraphrase, even when you translate. What is that supposed to mean? You will use your own words in English to explain the word you needed to translate. So let's say you Googled struggle and you could not understand the word struggle. You Google the images, you Google examples, you Google the opposite, the synonym, but you don't understand the word yet. So you translate it. Then it clicked. You were like, oh, now it's clear. I understand it. Well, here's what you do. Now you're going to sit down, you're going to grab a pencil, a piece of paper, and you're going to practice writing down an explanation that you are going to create. And you're going to create that explanation in English. What explanation? Well, you will explain the word, okay? Try to explain the word. With some words, it'll be very easy. With some words, it'll be more difficult. What is going to help you get better at this is the continuation, okay? The consistency. Let's try to explain the word struggle. So what does struggle mean? There are many definitions, okay? But I'm going to focus on a very popular one, okay? So to struggle means to experience difficulty and make a very great effort in order to do something, okay? So when you struggle, you are experiencing a lot of difficulty. So if I use my own words, okay? Struggle can be a verb and a noun, action and just the name of the action. So let's use a struggle as a verb and as a noun. Well, I am struggling to improve my English vocabulary. So I am experiencing difficulty improving my vocabulary. I'm having problems improving my vocabulary. And here I'm using my own words to help me understand the word struggle. So here I use the struggle as a verb, okay? I am struggling to improve my English vocabulary. I am experiencing difficulty improving my English vocabulary. I'm having problems improving my English vocabulary. Now, getting up early is always a struggle for me. Oh, is waking up early a struggle for you? Let me know in the comments. This is a question I want to know. Is getting up early in the morning a struggle for you? Let me know. Here I'm using struggle as a noun, okay? So struggle is a very difficult task. Is something very difficult that I really need to work hard to do, okay? So getting up early is always a very difficult task for me. So what is the deal here? Even though you needed to translate, you had to translate a struggle. You Googled, you tried, but you couldn't understand. Now, in tip number 2, you are introducing a new system, a new process. You don't stop at the translation and be like, oh well, I couldn't understand in English, so I translated. No, now you have another step. You're trying to show your brain different ways to use that word in English. You are using your own words, even if they are simple, even if you make mistakes, but you are using words in English to explain, to help your brain understand that word in English. Not only in your native language. So you are changing the process. And when you change the process, you change your results. And hey, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like this video and share it with your friends. The more you like, the more you share, the more you help my channel grow, and the more I get to help English learners like you. And if you're not subscribed yet, hey, subscribe. Now guys, to tip number 3. Guys, our native language may be different, okay? I speak Portuguese. Portuguese is my native language. Maybe your native language is Spanish or Italian or French. But the thing is, don't panic when you don't know a word in English during a conversation. Because when that happens in a conversation, it is almost like an instinct to immediately start thinking in your language, in your head. So this is going to happen, okay? And this is happening because your native language is the first language. So whenever you are in a conversation with someone and you don't know how to say something, or you feel nervous or anxious, you will immediately switch to your native language. This happens to all of us. Now here's where I'm going to get into the tip number 3. This is going to happen. It's not about when this is going to happen. This is going to happen. That's why you're going to use tip number 2 and tip number 3. Because in tip number 1, I gave you an exercise for you to do when you are studying. So you sit down, you paraphrase, and you write. But what makes a fluent speaker is not the number of words they know, but it's the ability to explain what they don't know. Yeah, this is important. So you are going to use paraphrasing in your conversations. That is actually what I tell my baby sardines, my students in the academy to focus on. Work around. I don't know how to say this in English, but I want to hear your story. I want to know what you want to tell me. So paraphrasing is the ability to express the words that you don't know, even when you don't know them. So you express your ideas. You don't focus on specific words. Otherwise, you're never going to achieve English fluency. You're never going to make your dream of speaking to people in English come true, because it's an illusion. There's thousands of words and we're never gonna know all of them. And when we get nervous, it gets more difficult to access memories, vocabulary, things we know, okay? Some people even forget their phone number, their names when they're like panicking. Why? Because we lose access to information we already know. But paraphrasing can be a very good strategy that you can gradually implement. Because as I've been telling you, this is a process. Okay. So the next time you are in a conversation and you begin to have this mental battle, this mental fight, and you feel like, oh my God, I don't know what to say. Well, stop, take a deep breath, and focus on explaining what you need the best way you can, okay? That is what is going to make you someone who can talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. So tip number 1 and tip number 2 will help you implement paraphrasing in conversations, because one thing is when you are studying at home and practicing, and another is when you are in front of someone and you need to speak English. So paraphrasing is the best speaking strategy for someone who tends to translate a lot, because that is going to take away the pressure that you feel when you believe that you need to know a certain word. No, you don't need to know a certain word. You need to know what you know. Okay, what do you know for that moment is perfect. This is a skill that needs work. That's why tip number 1 and tip number 2 are so important, okay? Because paraphrasing when we're studying and paraphrasing when we're talking are different things. And again, remember, stay consistent, change the process, and your results will change so that you can eliminate translation from your head. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe, and other than that, I'll see you next time. Bye!